What was your secret? $1 billion in billings. It's crazy.
Culture. The real core to the culture was our whole philosophy was word of mouth. But even today, 95% of all word of mouth is verbal. Only 5% happens online.
Give me the key to word of mouth.
There's two things. The smartest thing I ever learned from hiring.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Agency Confidential, where we uncover the stories behind the business of running an agency. Today, I'm really excited to have a conversation with Jon Bond. Jon is a legend in the advertising space. He's been in the agency game since the 80s. His first agency, Kirshenbaum Bond, started as two guys in New York City, pioneered guerrilla marketing, which went on to become what we know as viral marketing, and went on to become the largest independently held agency in the U.S. before being sold in 2009 with over $1 billion in agency billings, annual billings. He's gone on to build, lead, and sell multiple other agencies. He's an author of the book Under the Radar, which is the story of how he built his first agency, which I'm really excited to read, Jon. And he's a big name in the space, and we're lucky to have him. So thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, guys. Nice to be here. Hello to everyone in Adland. I'm a recovering agency guy. I'm on, step 10 of a 12-step program. Don't tempt me or anything.
I'd love to go back to the beginning, hear a bit about the story. You guys were two guys in New York. You were in your 20s. What prompted you to start an agency? How did you get into the agency life?
I worked for every bad agency in New York, and I kept going, oh, shit, I can do this. If they can do it.
And was it, have you been an ads guy your whole life, from the start?
The only thing I'm good at. We started doing these freelance work for Kenneth Cole. We did the first Kenneth Cole ads, and they were all about current events, like Mel DeMarcos bought 2,700 pairs of shoes. She could have at least had the courtesy to buy a pair of ours, Kenneth Cole. So we'd wait for something to happen and then do an ad on it, and then it would get picked up. You said viral, right? Everything was viral and got picked up by the press. And Richard, we were working at different agencies within a block or two of each other. And Richard's creative director was James Patterson, who's sold more books than anyone but, the Bible. And he was still working on his first novel. And he went around to the creative department at J. Walter Thompson with our ads. Why can't we do ads like this? And then Richard told him, he's like, I'll bring it into the agency. And it's like, well, we already use your art department to do our mechanicals. So, this whole campaign just became famous. Then we went, well, let's start this agency. And we had a retainer of $2,500 a month and a beach chair. And then we rented this space in a friend of ours' real estate office because he had the whole floor. And when clients would come, we'd put we'd put our sign. We made a big sign over his sign. So it looked like we had the whole floor. And people would be like, well, why do you have all these pictures of buildings everywhere?
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of faking it till you make it in the early days in terms of the office and
It was a lot of faking it. But, we were really the first in that sort of painfully young, hip category, believe it or not. Because before that, it was still the end of the Mad Men era. So people in their 40s, they had a client, they had a reputation. We didn't have anything. They'd start these agencies, and people thought we were just obnoxious upstarts. I remember one person said, do your parents know you're doing this?
So Kenneth Cole, was that your first
that
client,
was the first
you'd
client.
say?
Yeah.
What did client 2, 3, 4 look like? And not the specifics, but how did you go and actually turn it into a real business?
When you're in your 20s, what was good about that is all the media reps were women in their 20s, basically. And they all thought we were cool. They started sending us business. So 6 months after we started, there was a 7-page article in New York Magazine, and the headline was Hot Copy. And then Barbara Walters saw it and did 20 minutes on us on national TV. This was maybe 7
months old.
That was maybe 7 months after we started. So it was crazy. The agency was always hot. It was just straight up from the very beginning.
Do you put that to luck, or do you put that to you guys had this plan to make it the hot agency from day one?
Oh no, we had a plan to make it hot because everyone says it takes 10 years to build an agency. We're like, oh, we'll be old by then. And we were like 25, you know. The whole idea was to create the perception that we were hot, you know. So we had, the Kenneth Cole thing and got a couple of other clients. And then we just would announce these things one at a time. And then all the ads were crazy and outrageous. And, you know, so it was very orchestrated.
That's very cool. How long was it before you started hiring?
Maybe a few months.
Do you remember your first hire?
Yeah, it was a guy named Dennis who was an art director, and he was the same price as another guy who became like a big famous art director, except Dennis could draw. You know, you had to draw comps, so we hired Dennis. Then one of the first people we hired was Andy Spade, whose brother's David Spade, and then eventually he married Kate Spade, started Kate Spade. And I remember I paid him $22,000. He had the ugliest portfolio ever, but he was a writer. but his ideas were good.
At what point did you, I mean, obviously it might be the 6 month mark when you were, on in New York Magazine and Barbara Walters, but what was the inflection point where you're like, holy shit, we got something here. We can scale this up really big?
Well, for the first few years, we were very famous, but not very big because we had lots of cool clients that would do cool things, but weren't big, So one day we go, it'd be good if we had clients that paid us. That would be good.
What were some of those campaigns in the early days?
Oh my God. The Kenneth Cole stuff, Charivari, Never Coming to a Mall Near You. It had all those cool Japanese designers. Everything was very edgy and very cool. First big client we got was Hennessy in a big pitch. They sent us over to Cognac to meet the guys who ran the business out of France. And we came with the brand managers and then they showed them the new campaign and the French, because this is like a 250-year-old brand. They go, oh, that's nice. Come back next year if you still like it. We'll pay you and then we'll run it then. And everyone's freaking out. What? The brand managers? And they go, look out the window. We all look. You see the grass over there? Yeah. We just planted seeds that will grow up to be oak trees, that will age the cognac, that we will sell when we're all gone. That's what they said. So that we did actually run the campaign. But then as we were leaving, they go, we like you guys. Take this guy with you who had been our tour guide, who was 22, Patrick Morley Fletcher. And it turned out he was 17th generation Hennessy. So then he stood up next to the wall of all the portraits and then like, he looks the same. So he came back to New York with us for 2 years.
No way.
That was really cool.
The early days of starting an agency, almost always it's craftsmen. It's people that are good at the craft of what they're doing. They're artists, they're directors, they're copywriters. With your partnership, which one of you guys took lead on the business side of things? And how was that transition from, working in the art of it to working into the business of running an agency?
We both kind of did everything. We both came up with the ideas, both did client service, both did everything. What's good about a small agency is you learn to do everything. I mean, to this day, I still understand media because I had to do media. There was no one else to do media. I think that people who run agencies are very underrated in terms of how hard that is. I always used to remind me of, if you look at the old Star Treks and they'd go, a starship commander is a very rare person. There are people shooting at you and this and that. And I'm go like, yeah, that's my job. Exactly. It's a freaking starship commander.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they really are out to get you.
100%. Every piece of it, you got angry clients, you got angry staff, you got creatives all over the place. You're trying to put it all together to actually make a buck. It's tough. It's a tough go.
Oh no, you're like the sandwich in the middle. You've got like the clients that everyone wants to steal. Then you have the star people that everyone wants to steal. And what the hell? How do I keep this thing together?
What was your secret? How did you do it? How did you grow? I mean, because obviously, $1 billion in billings. It's crazy.
Culture. You have a culture. Now, it's not like I read some book and knew to do that. Who knew? But we had an incredible, incredible culture. Now, people wouldn't leave the office because people in the office were much cooler than their friends at home, you know. And, I thought about what the culture is. And, it was a lot about questioning everything. I mean, we were cynical young folks, right? Who thought, well, why would anyone believe advertising? you know, why would people believe this crap? You know, so we came at it that way. But looking back on it, I think the real core to the culture was acceptance. You could be some nerd who people made fun of in high school, or gay, or person of color. You could be anything. And people felt accepted, and they didn't have to be two different people. The person at work and the person at home, they could be the same person. And that is what made it really sticky and passionate. Look, to this day, God forbid somebody died who worked at the agency who people know. I could get an email or a notice on Facebook. 150 people will show up tomorrow night at some obscure bar in Soho. Guaranteed, 150 people. Boom, like that. That's culture. They don't have that very much today. I think it's way harder to create today. Remote working, fame is hard to create because there's too much digital advertising that people don't see. It's not, like we would put stuff out and everyone would see it at the same time. Here's a magazine ad or TV commercial. But now it's hard to go like, did you see that? No, I didn't. I didn't see it.
That's the game, is getting that omnichannel coverage.
Yeah. What was it like? If you look back into what was it, 80s, mid 80s that you started Kirshenbaum?
Late 80s.
What's the biggest difference between then and now? With you work with agencies now, you consult, you invest. Like, what's the biggest thing?
There's so many differences. Well, we were a Michelin star restaurant. Like took us the whole year to make 3 friggin' Hennessy ads. From the how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? I don't know how many. Should the period go there? And it was actually overdone to tell you the truth. And we'd go, wow, 3 ads in a year. I'm so tired. That's like in a day now. So we've gone from Michelin star to McDonald's drive-through. So I think it's a lot less fun, and you get paid less. And you work a lot, and there's a lot more busy work to do. And I think that the currency of ideas has declined dramatically. People don't really know what an idea is. So, I think it's a lot less fun and a lot less profitable than it used to be. You guys have it. You guys have it tough. It's still better than a real job.
I love it. I love it for a bunch of reasons, but I agree. It's always, and it's the pace of change is absolutely insane these days. It's absolutely insane.
It's insane.
With, AI entering the market with basically everyone and their dog going remote. It's a completely different world than it even was 5 years ago.
Completely different. It started with the internet, which was a big shocker. I remember we had some tech guys and they were like, you got to, surf the web and see. And I'm like, what? And they were like, what, those little teeny ads, those little teeny banner ads, those suck. Who wants to do that?
Jon, when you were explaining the campaign back with Imelda Marcos and sort of the idea of sort of hijacking culture. It's funny, after going through Black Friday here at Pilot House, seeing some of the ads that were created, there was a real flair for sort of creative communication I saw in them that made me think of your idea of newsjacking or of creating, momentum in a moment with the culture is actually not that dissimilar to meme marketing now, right? You're right. It's a lot harder to get broadcast, but it's the same thing.
No, it's that area is easier now because of social media. All that stuff that we did, that whole approach would be even better today. because we were relying on word of mouth and media press pickup and all that. All that would work incredibly well today. I mean, that was our whole philosophy, was word of mouth before social media. But even today, 95% of all word of mouth is verbal. Only 5% happens online.
What's the key? What's the key to give me the key to word of mouth?
There's two things. And it's funny you say that, because nobody strategizes about it. Well, Ogilvy used to say, word of mouth is manna from heaven. It's great when it happens, but how do you do it on purpose? And I think there's a couple of things. One is, what's the thing you want people to say? And that's the easy part. And the second thing is, how can you do something that instigates people to talk? That's the harder thing. I mean, I look at it as the most powerful thing is word of mouth at scale, right? So if you talk about scale, paid media gets scale. How many million impressions do you want? Push a button, write a check, right? But that scale isn't credible, isn't necessarily talked about, because it's obvious that it's paid. And then on the other side, right, you look at what's believable and what people talk about, and that's third party, that's press, but that's really hard to get at scale. Or you can get it for a minute and then it vaporizes and goes back to zero. How do you do something that has both? That's the home run. That's what you got to look for. Something that has scale, that you can do over and over again and generates buzz, at scale.
What are the best examples of that in the past few years, in like this era of marketing?
Well, I could say Sydney Sweeney, but I think sales are pretty flat, because I think that the super woke generation didn't like it. But what went up? The stock price.
The stock went way up, yeah.
Because the older people went, "Hey, that's cool, American Eagle," and they went and bought the stock. Again, because there's good and bad PR. It can go south just as easily, as it can go north. The same with Cracker Barrel rebrand, which was really stupid, because they took the soul out of it. What I would have done, and they're like, our customer's getting older, we need to get rid of the old guy. No, you never get rid of it. What they should have done is turned him into an avatar and had him say cool, funny things that were kind of Southern wisdom, country wisdom. That's what I would have done with it. But I still haven't answered your question, right? So I think you need to own something that's repeatable. For example, Small Business Saturday, which has been going for 13 years, I think. When that came out, Obama tweeted about it. I mean, that's pretty crazy, when the president of the United States tweets about your marketing idea. But every year, the day after Black Friday is American Express Small Business Saturday. That's pretty fucking powerful. So I think the key is to create an actual asset that regenerates itself on a regular basis, right? And there's a bunch of examples of that, but that's how I look at it. You need a thing, like, and I've done things like I had a stake in an influencer tool, and I created this thing called the 50 most influential CMOs. And I got Forbes to partner with us, and Forbes ran the article, and then that company got sold. But to this day, 14 years later, every year they announce the 50 most influential CMOs. It's an asset. It's going to get buzz every single time. Every CMO is going to tweet about it, right? And everyone that didn't get on the list is going to call up and go, how do I get on the list? Again, so it's about an actual, I think there's too much renting your marketing, like messaging. Messaging's overrated, messaging, you hear it, it's gone, and then it just atrophies. You run ads and then you turn off the advertising, it atrophies. Eventually it goes back to zero. You're propping it back up all the time. You need something that is more permanent. That's my theory.
I love that theory. Is what we did at Pilot House. We built a media company kind of by chance, honestly. Not this podcast, but another podcast that Eric hosts and a newsletter. And it was, we were talking to a potential acquirer once, and he was saying that he's like, man, you guys built your own pipes. I've just never seen someone really do that. And that was the moment where you're like, aha, like we've actually built something of asset here. And it's been a fantastic growth tool for us. Going back to the agency world and like the business behind it. I mean, you guys grew to, how big were you guys at the peak?
Over 100 million in revenue.
Wow.
With 27% margins every year.
That's amazing. In that growth journey, were there ups and downs? Did you have those moments of like, holy shit, we're going out of business?
All the time.
Talk about those. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Okay, that's a really great question. That's going to take me a while to explain. Okay, number one, I looked at it like, if you know anything about baseball, there's the different levels of the minor league, right? AAA, if you hit the fastball, you get promoted to AA. You hit the curveball, you go to AAA. You hit the slider, then you go to the major leagues, right? Each level, you're competing against completely different competition. And you got to figure out what's required to beat them. Once you beat them, you get promoted. And each level, the clients are bigger, more sophisticated. There's more at risk, So originally it was just this crazy creative shit that I talked about. Then Day invented this idea of account planning back in the day. But the second agency to do it was us. We hired all the 20-something-year-old planners from Day. They got really pissed at us. But that was a huge advantage because there was nobody else but us two for a long time that had it. The next thing was integrated marketing. If each strand is a line into a client, when you have lots of strands, it becomes a fabric and it's stronger and it's more profitable. Then we spun out all the specialty agencies with their own name so we could have competitive clients. We had 3 liquor clients, but if they're under different names with different things, the client was cool.
Oh, so you actually had multiple names under your main moniker.
Yeah, we had 4 or 5 different agencies, media, agency, media kitchen. And then they also could go out and pitch their own clients. So now we had diversity. That was, from a business standpoint, the thing that made the agency really sing and take off.
How did you, I don't know what agencies were like back then in terms of whether 27% was normal year over year. That's pretty hot now. How did you manage that from a day-to-day point of view? And I don't mean like day-to-day, but how do you, like, what came first? The profit or the work, or how did you do it?
For years, we had like 5% profit, 4%. We sucked, right? And, then we got tired of it and had to grow up. But here's how we ran the agency, all right? So we had a CFO, we had a CEO. Basically, everyone in an agency always comes to you and says, I need more money. I have to hire more people. So the first answer is always no. Then, if they come back, so half of them go away and figure it out. Then half of them come back and go, no, I really do need money. Then we go, all right, 6 people said that. We're going to bet on these 2. But here's the rule. What's the revenue? If we give you $100,000, blah, 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 what's that going to produce? They go, okay, we're going to get 300,000. We go, okay, you have 5 months. And here's what you're going to do. If that revenue doesn't materialize, you're going to cut this, you're going to that, you're going to. And so it was, there were consequences. That's what we did. It worked incredibly well.
I love that. And how was that must have been a pretty big shift in how you run the business, going from 4% margins up to 27. Like, how was that on culture compared to what it was before?
Everyone said it would fuck up the culture. We're a creative agency. We're not this, we're that. It didn't. It made us better, more disciplined. It only made us better, because before people would ask for money and we would overstaff and this and that. And by the way, it didn't make anything better. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, we found the same. Every time we hire more, it just gets
make it better.
In those days, you got to this 27% margin. I got to imagine it takes to build up the agency you did, hiring's got to be a super important part of that, obviously. What was your hiring methodology? How did you find these people that would go, kill it for you?
Well, if you have a culture, you know what a KB person is and isn't. So we had a type of person. The smartest thing I ever learned from hiring was we had a lot of people from other countries, and we had particularly a lot of Brits. Because in, let's say, London, there isn't the film industry there is here. So all the cool creative people go into advertising because there's no Hollywood, right? And I thought, wow, they're so much better. And I had the maximum number of Brits on retainer I possibly could. So one day I said, I'm going to go do a recruiting trip to London. I went to London and I met all kinds of people and I went, oh, they're no better. What the heck is going on? It hit me. If you are willing to move by yourself from a country you've lived in your whole life, you may never have been in New York in your life, and there were people I hired, and go do that. What's that say about you? It says you're confident, says you're willing to tolerate change. And what's happening in our industry? It's fucking changing fast.
Yeah, I love
Bingo.
that.
Always has.
And I hired people from Montana, from wherever the hell they were. And those were always the best people. People that would move to New York from wherever.
So you guys became this melting pot of people that they were there for
And remember,
that.
I said about acceptance as the core. Perfect. Couldn't be better. New York is a melting pot because of that, because of the Dutch. Used to be called New Amsterdam. Holland has got no land. So they had to trade, and you can't trade unless you can accept different people. That's the culture of New York. All right.
Yeah, that's amazing. What were the biggest swings you guys took that put the company in a place where it could have all gone to shit?
That's a great question. One day we had this consultant, a really great guy, former agency CEO who I loved. And one day we had an offsite with all the partners. And he said this: you guys must stop and fight the urge to mice. In other words, stop with the little clients. Stop doing that. From that day, we started focusing. And we got big, massively huge clients, BMW and Wendy's.
Jeff has a formative moment that we talk a lot as we built out agency, talking about his formative advice about building an agency was someone very influential told him to stop picking up pennies in front of the steamroller.
It's the same idea. A little less colorful, but yeah.
We see a lot of people in agency, and us included. We started that way. When you start an agency, you're just taking on whoever's going to fucking pay anything. But a lot of people get stuck. They hit that plateau because you can't get any bigger. The clients are too small. It takes too many man hours to do it. How do you see people get over that hump? Is it just doing it? Is it tenacity? What is it?
I think it's two things. Focus on the bigger client. Two is shameless self-promotion. Here's what happens, okay? Agencies, you've got clients, right? Who is your most important client, Jeff?
The one that pays me the most.
No. Pilot House is the most important client. How have you been taking care of that client?
Yeah, it's a good question.
What you should do is make yourself the most important client. And for the first hour of every day, just do that. Focus on that.
Oh, I love that.
But no one does. Almost no one does. But it's the only way you're going to grow. I'm telling you.
What does that look like from a practical point of view?
Everyone has their own game that they're playing, right? So, I had two CEOs of the media agency. Guy named Paul Wilmington, who's a big famous media guy. He's CEO of Canvas now. His game was public promotion. He would promote himself mostly, and a little bit the agency, but it didn't matter because they were intertwined. And that was his thing. After he left, Barry Lowenthal is not a self-promoter, but he's a great person with great relationships. And his MO was one person at a time. You got to know who you are and do the thing that you're really good at a lot. But it's not what I'm good at. It's playing your playing your game. Are you someone who writes articles, then write articles and go speak? Is it? I don't know you well enough to know, but I know you have a game because look, you're running an agency. So
that's great advice. It's the putting the time into the stuff that's actually gonna be beneficial for Pilot House, not just getting stuck in the client work.
Totally. And by the way, it's a pain in the ass to go out hunt and hunt.
Yeah.
So people will do anything other than that,
A lot of things are changing in the ad industry right now, and the agency industry right now, with AIs coming onto the forefront. Looking back at your history, you guys pioneered guerrilla marketing in the late 80s, 90s. You got into digital marketing, it looks like really early, when it was, just what it was. How much of your success do you put into being at the forefront of these things?
Okay, I've got a really good answer for that. It's called the near future. So the far future is too far out. You're going to lose a lot of money and it's no scale and there's no gain in it. The present is very crowded. 10 years ago, you could have been a D2C brand and gone on Meta and built a whole company. Now it's crowded and expensive and, all of that, right? The near future is the world's always changing, but there's things coming into view that are just hitting that have enough scale to matter. But because humans don't like change, not everyone's onto them. TikTok, especially TikTok ecom, is got some scale, but not everybody's onto it, right? There's always new things. Obviously AI, but what part of AI? And how do you, let's say, if I were going to brainstorm, you don't want to work on FTEs or hours, which you never should have worked on because that sucks. And especially with AI, no, things don't take as long. So is there a new model based on AI that's based on outputs or results or something, that you could pioneer that's not already being used by everybody and their brother, right? What else is in that near future? That's really the key.
Yeah. And how do you, my question would be also like, how do you pick something broad enough that it's scalable and it's not, you're not picking and look, everything's got a market, but if you double down on Pinterest advertising, let's say, you're only going to get so big, right? And maybe Pinterest is the sexy thing right now, whatever. How do you pick that thing? Because looking at your stuff, it's digital, it's guerrilla. Those are big, those are huge, and those are like transformative moments. Did you have those that you picked that were like garbage and failed? Is it kind of a at bats thing?
Oh yeah. But to answer your question, I'll come back to that in a second. But the agency concept can't be tied to one tactic, like Pinterest.
Yeah.
It has to be, it could be something that can live in Pinterest, but if Pinterest is worthless, it needs to be able to go somewhere else. So it needs to be conceptual. Well, here's a funny story. Oh, there's a million things that I did that didn't materialize, NFTs, there's all kinds of shit. But one day, as you pointed out, we were early in the internet. And I went, the internet plus power industry is going to deregulate. That's powerful. And I had this idea called wattage monitor, which was people are going to be able to buy power from anywhere. And in that moment when they're deciding where to go, let's have a site that has all the options and we will own consumers the moment they're going to decide. And I had this banker friend, he got $1 million and then we went public on the Canadian exchange. It was worth $250 million instantly. And then California did a test of deregulating power. Remember our friends at Enron? Enron was threatened by that and intentionally f***ed it up so that deregulation died and my $250 million was worth zero.
Oh man, when was that?
Late 90s, I think, 2000, around then.
If you're looking today, you do a lot of consulting. It seems like you're an investor in a lot of brands. It sounds like,
and I have like a small group, and we do marketing for equity for founders too.
Oh, cool. What kind of businesses are you doing that for?
All kinds. They're mostly, there's a lot of D2C, but they're all over the place.
Cool. Awesome. What's that called?
Bond World.
Okay, that is Bomb World. I was on that site earlier, and I in prepping for this, I was kind of looking through all the things you've been at the forefront of, and you have this little AI avatar at the bottom that I can chat with, which was
Yeah, you can chat with me.
yeah, I love it. It's wild.
Yeah.
What's summarizing everything you've done over the years? You're obviously a very experienced guy. You've done, you wear a lot of hats, do a lot of things. What advice would you give to somebody right now who's got a stable agency, still relatively small, that, $5 to $20 million size?
Okay.
What advice would you have?
I can answer that. Okay. So the most important distinction you can make as an agency principal is the distinction between everything we can do and the very short list, maybe even one thing that we do better than anyone in the world. So the problem is your positioning. The problem is that everything you can do, no one's going to hire you to do those things. They're going to hire you for the tip of the spear. And then because you're good, they're going to give you other stuff because you built trust through the thing you're great at. So what you have to do is find the tip of the spear and religiously, consistently pound that, because that gets you in the door. Once you're in the door, because you're so good at that one thing, they trust you and they give you other stuff. That's the most important thing.
How do you find the limit of where you scale to? Because, and what I mean by that is, horizontally. Client comes in for this amazing thing you do. They now want this service. Now they want this service. Now they want this. When do you stop and say, no, we're really good at this. We're not going to go into that part yet?
Never.
You just keep doing it.
The best banker you can have is the client. Yeah, most of all these agencies that we built started because some client gave us a shot at something. Oh, you're young and cool. You're going to do the student Chase credit card. Oh, yeah, do the direct mail too. I'm like, oh, well, we don't really know how to do that, but we'll hire people. That happens all the time. If you can get, and also you want to expand, the best way to expand is one step away from where you are. Your social media agency, go to paid social or go to influencer marketing. Just one or half a step away.
I got a question. You've just mentioned this great journey you've had with building agencies. Why are agencies the best thing to build? Why is working at an agency or building an agency better than the alternatives?
Because the work is more fun than most jobs and the people are more fun than most people. And by the way, most of the people in this business, and basically almost all the agency heads, also are usually pretty good on their word, or they couldn't do it. Not every business has these kind of people. You have businesses where people are professional scumbags and they're just trying to f as many people as they can. I mean, this idea that we have is not the way the rest of the world works.
Yeah. It's funny in building, we met because we've built this business called Agency. It's a vetted peer network for established agency owners. And we built it because we want to talk to more people in the agency space. And I got to say, I love every fucking conversation. There's so many interesting people, so many nice people out there. There's so many people solving problems in different ways. And I got to say, the amount of, when you start to talk to more people in the agency space, you just kind of build that. It's a real natural network. It's been really, really lovely, I got to say. And it's been really, really beneficial. So I love to hear that.
I like how it echoes what you were just saying about the culture you were able to build at your company. Because when people are building an agency, there aren't really rules. You're not following, okay, here's how you build an insurance company. Here's how you build a plumbing company. You really are defining your potential yourself in an agency in a lot of ways. I think it allows you to define a culture that is maybe, we just got off our town hall. We had 100 and some odd people, on this meeting. And there was incredible, even though it was digital, there were incredibly good vibes. And I think Pilot House's success has a lot to do with its ability to have created this culture that, even though it's decentralized, has a lot of people really psyched to be a part of it. And it's cool to hear how much that echoes what you built.
Totally. And especially independent agency owners need help. And who are they going to ask? they know more than anyone at their company. So who are they going to go to?
Yeah, 100%. Jon, this has been great. Been a really fun conversation. Would love to have you on. I'm sure you've got tons of war stories that we'd love to go deeper into, but we'll have to wrap this one up. But Jon, great to meet you, man. That was a really fun conversation.
Thanks, guys. Stay in touch.